2000, I'm back at you with another video. Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collect All Monsters. Get this shirt, seriously. It is awesome. Please get this shirt. And I'm back again with the X Plus double figure review. So you already clicked the title. You know exactly who we're covering here. So without further ado, let's dive head first, no pun intended, into this awesome double X Plus figure review. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus Deforeal, both standard and Ric Exclusive edition of Dr. Serizawa. Yes. Based on the iconic appearance in the first ever Godzilla film, Godzilla 1954, Godzilla 1954, also known as Godzilla King of the Monsters 1956. And yes, I have both beautiful figures here. And yes, they are beautiful. And you know we do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with the box and the packaging before we get into the figures themselves. And this is the box. Par for the course when it comes to the Deforeals, you already know that. Because I know I've done a few Deforeal reviews in my day. Just a couple. And yes, this is the picture of the box, with the window display where you can actually see the figure, whatever. And of course, this is Dr. Serizawa from the original Godzilla. And it comes with the Oxygen Destroyer. And actually, you know what? The Oxygen Destroyer actually comes unattached. So you can have the Oxygen Destroyer in his hands, or you can take it out of his hands. So that's cool. And of course, the difference between the two boxes is, of course, the yellow sticker signifying that one's a Ric and the other one's a standard. And it has Dr. Serizawa in English text on the side of the box, which is good, as well as the Japanese text of Godzilla, his name, in red bold lettering, which is awesome. So that's it with the packaging. Once again, these are great little figures. And I know, I've said this many times before, I know the Deforeal figures are an acquired taste. Not everybody gets the appeal of them. Not everybody gets what's so cool about them. And I was like that at first, but since then I've come around on the Deforeals in a major way. With the acquisitions of these two, I think I'm at 29 Deforeals. I still got more coming down the pipeline. So yes, this is a super cool line to go into. It really is. Outside of the Gigantics, the Sakais, the 30s, the 25s. These little figures are an awesome little figure line to get into. You know what I'm saying? So let's go into backstory with these figures before we get up close and personal with them. The first time we ever saw pictures of this guy, I want to say it was at the Winter Wonder Festival show back in 2020 in Japan. Of course, everybody remembers that show. It was like the last big show before the pandemic hit and the whole world went to crap. But a lot of noteworthy things from X Plus came out of that show. We saw the gigantic Mecha Godzilla 1974, all fully painted in all his glory, which looked awesome. We saw an unpainted prototype of the 30cm 1993 Godzilla, which looked great. We also saw a picture of the gigantic Balti. Yes, the first ever Ultraman foe to make his way into the Gigantic series, which I think he's going to be released real soon at the time of recording. So we saw him there. We saw an unpainted prototype of the gigantic 2019 Godzilla that ended up being the burning or fire version. We saw an unpainted prototype version of the 25cm Godzilla 2019, which looked awesome, but looked even better once it got painted or whatever. The most recent release of the X Plus 25cm 2002 Godzilla, which will be up for review coming real soon. We saw basically that figure fully painted, which looked awesome. And also we saw basically, like on a silhouette card, we saw basically this version of this figure, the Deforeal Serizawa. And that was the first time that we ever got confirmation that this guy was coming. And it came up for pre-order, I want to say December of last year, 2020. And it's just now getting to collectors' hands, I want to say the first or second week of June of 2021. And of course, yes, I double dip because I enjoy Serizawa. I really do. And he's such an iconic figure. Just like I've always said that I think as collectors, you need a representation of the 1954 Godzilla in your collection. Whether you like the film or not, whether you like the design or not, I think a representation of that Godzilla, the very first Godzilla, which spawned all the other Godzilla films after that, I think every collector deserves, or at least needs, a representation of the 54 Godzilla in their collection. And why not extend that same courtesy to the man who defeated the original Godzilla in that film? And of course, there is so much of a big difference between the standard and the Ric of this figure. And of course, on first glance, it's the coloring, you know. But also, when you look at the oxygen destroyers, the ball on the standard on the inside of the weapon is closed, but the ball on the on the weapon on the Ric is actually open. So between those two things, the coloring, and like I said, and just the differences between the oxygen destroyers, was the reason why I wanted to go why I double dip on this figure. Not to mention, I have a couple of 1954s in my collection, so I'm putting the standard with one of my black and white Godzilla 54s, and actually I'm using my Ric to go with my natural color version of the 1954 Godzilla, which you'll see in size comparisons later on. So that's it with the backstory of me getting these figures, you know, whatever. I'm glad that I'm finally able to get my hands on these figures, and if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first ever humanoid character to make its way into the Deforeal, you know what I'm saying? And when it comes to Serizawa, they have actually done Serizawa before. I think a mini small version of Serizawa came with the 25 centimeter 1954 Godzilla as the Ric accessory of that figure, you know. And they're also going to do, from what I understand, a new figure line called the Toho Maniacs. You know, we only saw this like once, like a few months ago. But they're going to do like, I think, an in-scale version of Serizawa, which is cool. So if you missed out on this one, which I think you should go after this figure release, quite frankly, but if you missed out on this one, you'll get your chance when an in-scale version of Serizawa comes, hopefully real soon. But I'll tell you more about that once we get more information about that. But once again, this is great. This is great having both versions of Serizawas in my collection, and let's get up close and personal with them. And as you can see, both figures are basically identical sculpt wise. It's just the difference between the two is just the coloring. Now let's start with the standard. Of course, it's in basically black and white or grayish type coloring to the figure, you know, with the helmet more of a light grayish color with little highlights on it or whatever, you know, the number 2 on the helmet, which looks really good. You know, he has like gray boots, and his suit is more so like a lightish gray or whatever. They also apply that same type of coloring to the oxygen destroyer that he's holding, which looks really good. And of course, you can see on his helmet, you know, you have an image of Godzilla. The same thing with the Ric here. And actually, you know what, before I go any further, that is something that I've seen some folks really take issue with. They don't like that there's that particular image of Godzilla in the helmet. They prefer if they saw, like, you know, partial of his face or maybe some air bubbles or whatever. But I know some people are not really a big fan of the fact that they put Godzilla's image, or this particular image of Godzilla, into the helmet. I have no issue with that, quite frankly, because for me it's more symbolic that because of Godzilla being in the image, it's the last image that he saw before he, you know, what happened at the end of Godzilla 1954. So I think it's more symbolic that the image of Godzilla is in the helmet, because once again, it's the last image that he saw. So I think it's more poetic that Godzilla is in the image of the helmet. And that, once again, I have no issue with that, you know. But with the standard version, it's more so of a black and white color in the reflection of the helmet, which looks really good. The oxygen destroyer looks really good. Once again, like I said, the standard comes with the ball that's on the inside of the weapon actually closed, you know, whatever, which looks really good. You have the scuba airline at the back, which stands out, you know, pretty far, just a little bit. But it's also kind of a tragic when you really think about it, because he did cut the line in the movie, so it could represent that where his airline was cut, you know, whatever. So, but it also adds more realism to the actual sculpt, or at least to the figure itself, because he is in his scuba diving gear, which looks really good. So basically, the standard version of the Deforeal Serizawa here looks really good with the black and white coloring. It looks exactly how it was in the film, even though it's a Deforeal, but it still looks great. You know, it still looks great. So let's go over to the Ric. Once again, there's really not much of a big difference between the standard and the Ric, except for the coloring and for the oxygen destroyer. But like I said, both sculpts are the same. So let's go with the Ric. And this is more of a natural color version, kind of akin to what I mentioned earlier with the 30 centimeter 1954 natural color version of Godzilla, which you'll see in size comparison later on. But basically, you have more of a rustic color on the Ric. you know, on the helmet, which looks really, really good. He has some brown shading here and there. His boots are more so of a tannish color. His overall bodysuit, his scuba suit, is more so of a tannish color. His oxygen destroyer is more so of a bronze color, you know. Just really just accentuates the figure itself, in my opinion. Once again, like I said, the ball on the standard is closed, but the Ric is open, you know. So when you really think about this, basically these figures represents a moment in the film where, in my opinion, the standard is Serizawa before he activated the weapon and before he died, and the Ric is when he activates the weapon, or the weapon is in the process of doing what it needs to do to defeat Godzilla or kill Godzilla, and he's in the process of dying, which is really tragic and really just sad to really think about. Which is why I want to have a double version of this figure, because it's more of a symbolic figure. It's a heavy figure. Yes, I get it. It's a Deforeal. He looks really, really kind of off with the big head and the small body or whatever. But the symbolism behind this figure and what he did in the movie and how he is such an iconic figure in the Godzilla fandom, or at least the Godzilla movie fandom, you know, Serizawa, you know, he's a very important figure. So once again, that's why I had to have both versions of this figure. Back to the Ric. Looks really, really good. And the image on the helmet, you know, like the standard, where the standard of Godzilla, at least the Godzilla reflection, excuse me, is black and white on the standard, but it's more so of a colored version, like a bluish color, you know, in a way. But still, Godzilla is still black and white in both versions, you know, whatever. But it still looks good. But I think both these figures look really, really good. And once you pair them up with other 54s from X Plus that you have in your collection, you know, it makes like a great companion piece to Godzilla, which is very appropriate because he was the man that defeated and or killed the original Godzilla. So that's pretty much it. You know, really simple, you know, as far as like up close and personal with the Deforeal Serizawa, which looks really great. Now, before I go into size comparison, let me talk about this oxygen destroyers just a little bit. Now, once again, as I mentioned earlier, the oxygen destroyer pieces that come with the Deforeal Serizawa come unattached, so you can place them in his hand or you can place them out of his hand. So it's like a separate piece in and of itself, which looks really good. Now, they're really no different than the other oxygen destroyers that X Plus have done, because this is not the first time that X Plus has done an oxygen destroyer. They made a mini replica version that came with the 30cm 1954 Godzilla, the original black and white version, the natural color version that I mentioned. I mentioned the one where Serizawa is holding the oxygen destroyer. It's like a mini version of Serizawa that came with the 25cm version. Now, the oxygen destroyer is not as big as this one, you know, whatever. But still is a version of oxygen destroyer. They also made one that came with the gigantic burning Godzilla, right? And they made another one that came with the 30cm burning Godzilla. So S Plus has done their fair share of oxygen destroyers, you know, and they've really done a great job here. Now with these in particular, they're really no different or like size wise than the one that came with the gigantic burning Godzilla or the 30cm version or the 30cm version of the 54s, you know, whatever. They're pretty much the same size, but they're really detailed. And once again, this is such an awesome weapon to have, an awesome piece to have in your collection, especially if you're a Godzilla fan, especially if you're a completionist or whatever. So in my opinion, as I said earlier, you need to have the 54 as a representation in your collection. So why not extend that same courtesy to the man who defeated that version of Godzilla in that movie, you know? But once again, this is great. These are great figures. I saw that release in the year 2021 where we are seeing great stuff come out with the 30cm Megalon, the Famous Colors line Rodan, the Deforeal Gamma 1996, as well as other stuff we know that's coming, the Gigantic 54, Martha 1992, Rodan 2019, other Deforeals that are coming, Gamma 99, the Godzilla 2000, you know, whatever. It's been a great year. As far as S Plus figure releases is concerned. You can definitely add this guy onto the list. So if you have not gotten this guy, please go after this figure. You would not be disappointed, especially if you're a fan of this movie or a fan of the character itself from the movie. Now, let's only do one size comparison, and as I mentioned earlier, I do have a couple of 1954 Godzillas in my collection. So you know what? Let's bring up the 30cm 1954 Sakai Godzilla, you know, the black and white version, and let's bring up the 30cm natural color version of Godzilla 1954 courtesy of X Plus, and let's show that in this first and only size comparison. So let's do that right now. Okay, folks, this is the first and only size comparison, and alongside the X Plus Deforeal Serizawa, Dr. Serizawa, I should say, both standard and Ric Exclusive editions. I have two 1954 Godzillas from X Plus I have in my collection. Of course, back behind the Ric, I have the 30 centimeter Ric Exclusive Wonderfest Godzilla 1954, the natural color version. And behind the standard, I have the Yuji Sakai 30 centimeter 1954 Godzilla. And as you can see, they look well together. This shot is really self-explanatory and very, very appropriate. The man and the beast. Yes, yes, yes. The awesome beast and the man that would eventually go on to defeat and or kill that particular beast. So, once again, I think this is a very, very appropriate comparison, or just a very, very appropriate shot. You know what I'm saying? Man, it looks good. You know, especially like I said with the standard, you know, alongside the black and white version of Godzilla 1954. It looks really, really, really good. As well as the natural color version. Once again, that's why I double dip. That was another reason why I want to double dip and get the Ric. You know what I'm saying? I was going to get this figure regardless, quite frankly. But between the two, I think I kind of like the standard more. You know, just a little bit more, just a little bit. But I had to go for the Ric because I have, like I said, the natural colored version of the 54. So that right there was like, you know what? You got to get the Ric for this one, you know. And it looks great. It looks really, really great. So once again, make it kind of short and sweet with the size comparisons, you know, whatever. So if you have any version of the X Plus 1954 Godzilla and you're kind of on the fence about going after the Deforeal Serizawa, please get off the fence, because as you can see here, they look great together and it makes for a cool setup on your shelf. There's no question about that. So without further ado, let's go into the final commentary portion of the video. Let's talk about my thoughts on Dr. Serizawa's role in the original Godzilla. So let's go with that final commentary portion of the video right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus Deforeal Dr. Serizawa, both standard and Ric Exclusive editions. Once again, 10 out of 10. These are great little figures, you know what I'm saying? Now, I know the Deforeals are an acquired taste. I know I've said it many times before, but, you know, it begs repeating that I understand that this line is not for everybody. This style of figure is not for everybody. But this is a super cool line to get into. The detail and craftsmanship that you will find in a gigantic from X Plus, or a Sakai, or a 25 centimeter, or a 30, you find it all here in this Funko Pop type of figure. And the fact that Dr. Serizawa in this case is more so of a humanoid form, he doesn't take a lot of space on your shelves. You know what I'm saying? He's not like a Godzilla or a King Ghidorah. That even though in Funko Pop form, you know, they are kind of sizable in a way, but you don't have that issue with Serizawa. You know what I'm saying? So this is such a great figure. And the fact, like I said, that the Oxygen Destroyer can be placed in his hands or out of his hands to be placed, or at least displayed as like a separate piece on its own, looks really, really good. And the difference between the two figures is amazing, and it's worth double dipping. Now, I know sometimes X Plus will bring out a figure where the standard and the Ric version of that figure makes it real easy to decide which road you're gonna go after. Then they make a figure where both standard and the Ric are appealing to you, so you have to double dip. There's nothing wrong with double dipping, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. So if you double dip like I have, you know, obviously you really love this figure, and it's a great figure to have. And as you saw in size comparisons just now, he looks great up against the other X Plus 1954 Godzilla representations, where it's the 25 centimeter, where it's the 30 centimeter Sakai, where it's the original 30 centimeter black and white 54, or the natural color version, even the gigantic. And I didn't showcase that in the size comparison, but I do that here. They look great up against the gigantic. Now, I know the gigantic 54 in particular doesn't have the best reputation in the world because of it being a Sakai, and the detail is not as crisp as you will find on a 30 centimeter version of a Sakai. But still, once you put, whether it's the standard or the Ric Deforeal Serizawa up against the gigantic 54, it makes for a killer setup. Makes for a great setup between man and beast, and it's awesome. So between the gigantic 25, 30s, as I said, the Deforeal Serizawa will complement any one of those figures. Trust me when I say that. Now, let's talk about Dr. Serizawa from the original 1954 Godzilla, as well as Godzilla King of the Monsters 1956. And he is such an important figure. And ironically, he doesn't take up a good chunk of the film. He's barely in it, if you really think about it, you know what I'm saying? But he is a pivotal and iconic and important character in the film for the fact that he single-handedly, in a way, defeated Godzilla. He killed the original Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? Which will make him forever marked in the Godzilla fandom. You know what I'm saying? But when you really think about his character, it's really a tragic and sad one. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he's arranged to be married to Emiko, but Emiko does not want to marry him. In fact, she falls in love with somebody else, and she's trying to build up the courage to tell Serizawa that she doesn't want to marry him anymore. Then he ends up, telling her, what he's been doing with his experimentation with oxygen and the horrifying discovery that he came upon, which led to the creation of the oxygen destroyer. You know what I'm saying? Then kind of find out that she actually betrays that secret and tells the man that she wants to pursue a new life with. You know what I'm saying? So Serizawa really goes through a lot of heartache in this film. You know what I'm saying? He not only loses the woman he's going to marry, but when he discovers that he now has to use his weapon to defeat Godzilla, now the whole world is going to be made aware of what he discovered. I think at that moment in the film, when he's finally convinced by Ogata, by the man that Emiko wants to pursue a new life with, ironically, he is convinced by him that, you know what, we need your weapon. We need your weapon. Because Serizawa is really hesitant to use his weapon at this point, because he, even though it's a horrifying discovery, he wants to use the weapon that will benefit mankind. And he has not figured out a way at that point how he can use what he discovered to benefit mankind. But Ogata really drives the point home, like, look, your potential fear of what may happen doesn't outweigh the fact that Godzilla is a reality right now that needs to be taken care of right now. So that was really all that it took. Plus him seeing, the devastation of Tokyo after Godzilla's horrific, Tokyo City attack, whatever, and hearing the children crying and singing in that choir on TV, whatever. All those events combined motivated Serizawa. You say, you know what, I need to do this. So in my opinion, even though he he kills himself at the end, which I did not expect to see that when I watched Godzilla for the first time back in the day. I did not see that coming. I thought that once Ogata went to the surface and Serizawa activated the weapon, he was going to go to the surface along with Ogata and be saved, right? I did not see him taking a knife, cutting his airline, right? And then basically killing himself, committing suicide, But I think at that moment, when he's finally convinced to use the weapon up against Godzilla, you see him burning his nose, right? Because he doesn't want, the secrets of the oxygen destroyer fall into the wrong hands, right? So he was burning his research. He was burning his nose. So I think at that point, when he realized that he not only is losing the woman he's going to marry, but he can't really go forward with his research anymore, I think he made the decision then that he wanted to kill himself, because I think in his mind he had nothing left to live for. You know what I'm saying? Which is really, really tragic. Really, really sad that this guy really had in his mind, he had nothing going for him. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why he killed himself, because I think his biggest reason for wanting to kill himself or commit suicide is the fact that he felt like his weapon at that point really couldn't benefit mankind. But when you really sit down and think about it, the weapon did kill Godzilla. It stopped Godzilla. So in a way, he kind of got what he wanted. It did benefit mankind, but at the same time, it wasn't on his terms. It was not on his terms, and that's what would make it very, very tragic. So even though Godzilla is gone, he's defeated at the end, there's really no feeling of celebration or jubilee. You know what I'm saying? It's just a somber tone, which is really the whole tone of the entire movie. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I highly advocate and implore and tell fans, you need to watch the original Godzilla. You need to watch the original film, whether it's the American version, more so the Japanese version. You have to know where Godzilla came from. You need to watch the original movie and just understand that it's a tragic story at its core. It's a tragic story at its core, but it ended up spawning one of the greatest icons in the history of pop culture. But you need to watch the original Godzilla to get a firm understanding of that, and get a firm understanding of not only Godzilla, but the man that defeated Godzilla. And once you do that, I think you will be a more educated fan, and you will probably appreciate the character even more. So with that being said, these are such great figures. Once again, a solid release from X Plus in the year of 2021, where we have seen great figures from the 37 Megalon, the favorite sculpted line Rodan 56, the Deforeal Gamma 1996, the 25 centimeter Burning Godzilla 2019, as well as future stuff that we know is coming, the new Gigantic 54, Martha 92, Rodan 2019. Just lots of great stuff is coming, but you can definitely add this guy onto the list of great solid releases from X Plus in the year of 2021. Yes. So that pretty much concludes my X Plus double figure review of Dr. Serizawa, both standard and Ric Exclusive edition, based off his iconic appearance in the first ever Godzilla film, Godzilla 1954, Godzilla 1954, aka Godzilla King of the Monsters 1956. You have any questions, comment down in the comment section, or hit me on Facebook via Leslie Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, once again, great solid figures. I'm glad I double dipped. Once again, as you saw earlier, I do have a few representations of the 54 Godzilla from S Plus in my collection. And of course, the Ric's going with the natural colored version. The standard's probably going to go with my Sakai or my Gigantic. And once you pair the two together, it makes for an awesome setup. So if you locked in for a pre-order where it's the standard or the Ric, or if you're doing what I'm doing and double dipping, you'll be in hard heaven once you get your hands on these figures. And the Oxygen Destroyers are a great added bonus. So a solid package, great figures. I highly recommend them. Yes. What's coming up next on the channel? I'm gonna do the X Plus 25 centimeter 2002 Godzilla Ric Exclusive edition from Godzilla X Mecha Godzilla. So please stay tuned for that figure review. It should be coming real soon. And I think my Spiral Studios King Ghidorah should be coming real soon. So there's lots of stuff coming here on the channel that will keep you entertained for the foreseeable future. But in the meantime, get these figures. Get the X Plus Deforeal Doctor Serizawa, both standard and or Ric Exclusive editions. Yes. You would not be disappointed. All right? So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this figure move review. All right? Y'all take it easy.